Hello my dear friends, and welcome back. Because of my interest in electronics, I was trained in the Royal Air Force as an electronics technician in telecommunications, and I've been a licensed radio amateur for over 40 years, although I don't do much in the lines of amateur radio at the moment. My life seems to be centered around communication. So when I started to get more and more into not only understanding, but to a small extent, investigating communication with so-called, in inverted commas, dead people, people who live on the other realms, it just seemed a natural continuation. Excuse me. I did a bit of playing around with EVP first of all. Here is my little Tascam, a fairly standard a fairly standard audio recorder that you can find on the internet. Not over expensive, but with an SD card in there, I can record hours and hours and hours and hours of audio, put the files on the computer here and edit them. And I've had some results, as you will see as this little video clip I'm doing now runs through. So initially I started playing around with EVP, which is electronic voice phenomena. Anyone who has a method of recording audio, whether it be on an old-fashioned reel-to-reel tape recorder cassette or in some digital format, especially if it's portable like this, even with your mobile phone, as most of them these days will record audio, and you can actually capture audio sequences. If there's any discarnate person present here, please, I'm making a recording, you can say, and if you would like, impress the recording so that when I play it back I can hear a word or two or a phrase that you would like me to hear, and you will see and hear some of the examples I've got shortly. A lot of people who investigate so-called haunted places will also use one of these. This is the very famous SB7 ghost box, which I've used a few times, had a few things on it, not as much success though as with straightforward recordings with EVP. I discovered a while back that one of the real fathers of radio, pioneers of radio, was a scientist called Sir Oliver Lodge, who died, of course, or passed on many years ago. And one very good medium who was very well known and known to be genuine was a man called Leslie Flint, who was a direct medium. And the method that he used was, rather than put himself into a spiritualistic trance and be overshadowed by some discarnate person, as many mediums do, many spiritualistic type mediums do, he would provide etheric, supraetheric matter, which is known as ectoplasm, out of which a voice box would be formed in the air. And the discarnate entity that would then manipulate the voice box so that the voice comes out, as it were, from mid-air, not from the medium. One of the people who overshadowed Leslie Flint in this way was Sir Oliver Lodge, and you will, in a second or two, you will hear a section of clip from one of the sittings where Oliver Lodge came through, and where Oliver Lodge is referring to communication from his side to here, or vice versa. So we'll let you hear that.
And have been for a very long time working on this side, on a method of communication between our work and yours that will be accepted eventually, I'm sure, scientifically, we have been evinced to be able to make communication in such a way from the scientific aspect that no one could possibly deny the authenticity and reality of it.
Having mentioned EVP, electronic voice phenomena, I'll just give you a small number, half a dozen or so, of the examples that I have got myself in recent times, and the text will come up on the screen so that you can read what is actually being said. I will just conclude this service with the prayer for spiritual workers. Can you, any discarnate person present, give me the name of a spirit guide? Now please, and I will be quiet for about a minute and assess the recording either this evening or over the next day or so. Thank you very much. You may have seen a movie that was produced some time back, a movie called White Noise. And the main plot of the movie is based around, sorry about the aircraft noise, is based around a principle or a technique abbreviated to ITC, and you'll see why it's abbreviated, because it's an acronym for Instrumental Transcommunication. It sounds very complicated, and basically there are variations on the technique depending on who's doing it and how they set things up, but the basic idea is that a video camera is pointed at a monitor and the output of the camera is fed to the monitor, so you get a video feedback loop. You will see in a moment the technique that I have been using, and before I actually show you the video clips and what some of what I've got as results, let me explain what I actually do when I do that. I use this 32-inch monitor behind me, 32-inch TV, and in the corner there, I haven't got it out at the moment, I have a closed-circuit TV camera, colour camera, on a tripod, and I pointed at this screen from about 6 feet away, 5 or 6 feet, something like that. And the composite video out from the camera, I have a splitter lead, and I take one of those outputs to this monitor, put this on its AV input setting, so the camera can see the monitor and the monitor displays what the camera sees. The other lead out of the camera I take via a composite video to USB adapter, and that goes to the computer, and then I can actually record the video that the camera is seeing. On the photograph that you will see in a moment, you may notice there is a webcam sat on top of the video camera, because when I first started doing this and I took that photograph, I didn't have the splitter lead, and one of the reasons for using a webcam as well, other than making it easier to record, was that the lens on the video camera has quite a narrow viewing angle. So from about 5 or 6 feet away, the camera will only see about the middle third to a half of the screen. But whatever the camera sees is then displayed over the whole screen. Okay, so anything in the middle becomes bigger because it's displayed over a larger area. The camera then sees the larger image and again displays it bigger on the monitor. And so what happens is you get patterns moving outwards, very much like the intro on the television to the Doctor Who series, you know, with the white patches moving out. It's a bit like that, as you will see, because I've got a video clip coming up of some of the actual screens that I've videoed. But the point is, by using a webcam and actually recording from the webcam, not from the video camera, the webcam excuse me, can be set so that it sees the whole screen. So although the CCTV camera only sees the middle of the screen, the webcam sees it all. And so I can record the whole screen and not just the middle bit. And that was one of the advantages of using a webcam. When a discarnate person is trying to provide communication with us, you know, from them to us, with EVP it helps to provide a noise source. If you're using an ordinary recorder of some description and you've got a radio nearby, put it on, for example, the medium wave, tune it off a station so you've got hiss, and then any discarnate entity who may want to give words or phrases or communicate with you can actually draw on the noise background in order to form the words that you hear on the recording. When you're doing a visual thing like ITC, as opposed to EVP, it helps if you can produce video noise. And this is what I do when I use my setup, because you will see on the video footage that's coming up that the lens I bought on eBay for this camera has an iris, and it's a CCD charge couple device used in the camera, which has a noise threshold. And what I do is, once the camera is set on the monitor and the focus is adjusted, I then turn the diaphragm, the iris, on the lens down so that the light coming in from the monitor is just above, I mean marginally above, the threshold of the CCD device's noise threshold. Any instances where the light level drops below that threshold show up as dark patches on the screen. And so you get light and dark patches on the screen, which of course are continually moving because they're continually being redisplayed bigger because of the feedback loop. And so I'm actually providing video noise or visual noise. Now, some of the stills that I've taken from my footage, and you will see this, look like a person looking in. One of them is very much like a person with a head tilted, eyes partly closed, looking into the camera lens. If you think about it and where it was set up, it obviously isn't. It's probably more like a mental projection. It's some form of psychokinesis. I've yet to work out how the image is given to us, but it happens, and so there is a technique they use. I wish we had more direct contact so I could ask questions. But some of the images I've got, on one frame, for example, there is a female apparently stood there, and it's about this big. The image is about that big. You see, I mean, on the monitor, about that size. It's obviously not a person, unless they're little people, unless they're very small. So it's not so much that like taking a conventional photograph where somebody stands in front of the camera. The video camera and the monitor are there purely to produce video noise. The video camera is not, in this instance there, so much to actually pick up the image of a person, but it provides video noise that a discarnate entity can impress or modulate such that we get images. Some of the there's a couple that have like the shadow, you know, the shoulders and head part of a human being, a humanoid. But I mean, it's that big on the monitor. You know, for a camera placed there to see somebody that size, they'd have to be about 7 yards back. You know, to get that small in front of the camera. So it's obviously not a live image of somebody in front. It's more like a mental projection, and you will see this. Welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed the video clips and found them interesting. The second half, the pictures, the JPEGs that I brought up in like a slideshow, I left each one on long enough so that you had a chance to look at them, although you could have paused the player anyway. I do find it interesting, and it's to do with perception. And I found it with the EVP sound clips and with the ITC images that I can look at some of the images or listen to some of the clips and it's blatantly obvious what's there. I mean, like the ones where somebody is saying, hello, you know, and I can hear it so plainly. And yet I've known people, I've played it to them several times and they're straining, you know, and they can't hear it. They can't recognize the sound sequence as the word hello. Or, you know, the two of those images that you just saw, you may have spotted them. And to me, they're so blatantly obvious. Two of them are close-ups of part of the face, and you can see the eyes and the nose and part of the mouth, the forehead. And you can see it's a human face. And I've had people look at them. You've got a good imagination. They can't see it. Admittedly, one or two of the images are a little more indistinct, but I can see detail in there, which is interesting. But the more obvious ones, and it's amazing how people can't see or can't recognise the sound. And yet other people can. It's a weird aspect of perception and what you are used to, I suppose. You will have noticed on some of the images, the stills that came up, that I mentioned a file name. I usually called them just ITC test or test 1, test 2, etc. But you will also have noticed on the images a frame number. Excuse me. How did I arrive at the frame numbers? And the way that I have done this, to identify the actual image, is I've used a program, an open source, freely downloadable program called Physmo, spelled P-H-Y-S-M-O, Physmo. If you do a search on Google or something, you'll find it. Download and install the program. It's a lovely program, function-wise. And when you've brought the program up, a dialog box comes up, by the use of which you can load a video clip. And once you've loaded it, it sets off processing. And what it does is, it goes through the video and it actually saves the video frame by frame, by frame by frame. And I limit my video clips these days to about 2 minutes, for the simple reason a 2-minute video clip put through Physmo gives you about a little more than 3,500 frames. Once the processing is done, it goes back to the first frame, and at the top left-hand corner of the user interface for Physmo, you'll see a small window, and you'll see the first frame there. But nearer the middle of the screen, you'll see a larger window, which is, you know, a larger copy. And on the player buttons at the top, you've got the normal play, stop, pause, whatever, forwards, backwards. You can run the video forwards, run the video backwards. But there are also 2 extra buttons for step back, step forward. And you can go next frame, next frame, next frame, and go back and the next frame. So you can step through a frame at a time. I can't remember if I've said it, but I most definitely recommend that if you're going to try and use this program or anything like it. Sorry about the noise of the emergency services. I'm close to a main road. I've got an ambulance station, fire station and a police station all fairly close, so you're going to get that siren from time to time. But anyway, yes, create a folder specifically for this, because 3,500 frames And using the program's interface, you can step through each frame at a time until you find something of interesting. Save that frame, give it a name so that you can identify. And I always, in the file name for the images, I looked up at the top and it tells you what the frame number is out of the 3.5 or whatever thousand. And so I can go back to that video clip and I know exactly what frame that image is from. So that's where it comes from. But once I've saved out of 3,500 frames, probably a maximum of 4 or 5, I might occasionally get more, but typically 4 or 5 images out of 3,500 frames. And some of these images that you saw only appear on one frame. This is why when you first run the video, at normal speed, you probably won't see anything. You've got to go through it frame by frame to see some of these images because they're just so fast. But go into the folder afterwards and you can identify all the frame number images. There are 2 sets of images. One is frame 1, frame 2 all the way through. And you've also got preview 1, preview 2. So if you've got 3,500 frames, you've got about 7,000 files to delete. So just click on one, Control A, make sure your images are not included, the ones you've saved, and then just Shift Delete. Permanently delete, gone. And you're just left with your wanted images. Don't delete your video file though. I keep them in a separate folder, so they're safe. So that's how I split the video up by using Fismo. And if the creator of that program is watching, I thank you very much. It's a very useful program, and one of these days, if I win the lottery, I will make a donation to your website and to your program because it's beautiful. Right, okay, what else have we got? I've mentioned the video, I've mentioned the stills. I think that's more or less it. I know as soon as I terminate this video I'll remember something I wanted to say. So apologies if I do forget anything, but when I finish this little bit of waffle, you will see the screen come up with my contact details. If anyone does want to contact me or go to my website, it will be there. Okay, so thank you for watching this. If you are trying EVP or ITC yourself, I hope you have great success with it. I'm only just starting, so the images and the sound files that you have heard and seen here, this is early days for me, so I'm still getting my act together and fine-tuning my methodologies. So thank you very much for watching, for coming to look at this video, and as I said on my first and second videos, well, no, I don't think I did say it on the first video actually, but I did on the second one. Thank you very much to anyone who subscribes to me, and I really do appreciate that. Thank you, my friends. I bless you all, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye for now.